main man, Elias, and we are on Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to another episode of the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to the party, pal!
You're my boy, Blue!
Yo, Adrian!
A podcast with interviews of amazing guests from the world of pop culture.
Oh, yeah!
TV.
Nice!
Movies.
Oh, I love the movies.
Comedy and more. From deep inside the Man Cave, your host, Elias.
Today with me, I have Ashley Mae Sebera, also known as Dana Brooke from WWE. Ashley, welcome to the cave.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you? What's new with you?
What a cool name.
Right?
Cave, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Real cool.
Yeah, that's what I say. I always tell people, welcome to the Man Cave Chronicles, because it gets recorded in a man cave.
That is awesome. Is that how you came up with the name, obviously, huh?
It was actually my wife's idea, to be honest.
The woman has the brains of that
Right?
mastermind behind it all. Huh?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Exactly.
So
But
you,
hey, every man needs a man cave. And
Correct.
how cool is it to have a podcast and do your thing? That's awesome.
That's right. That's right. So as I mentioned, everybody knows you from the WWE universe. You're also in the fitness world, bodybuilding, and we'll talk about all of that. But I want the listeners to get to know a little bit more about you. Where are you originally from?
I'm originally born and raised Cleveland, Ohio. A lot of great people come out of Cleveland. LeBron James, Drew Carey, and Cleveland rock. So I was born and raised in Cleveland. All my family's still there. I just can't stand the cold weather, to be honest with you. And just like LeBron did, I had to take my talents down south. Also, WWE was located in Orlando, Florida. So I was in Orlando, Florida for 4 years. And then transitioned down to Boca, which is very close to Miami. So that's where I'm at now. And I love it here. I love the weather. I love, the environment, but being close to the water. And I still love to go back at home. I still love to go back and visit Cleveland. My family's there, which my family's my life, and they support everything I do. My aunts and uncles, everyone's up there. But when they need to get away to the warm weather, they come down and stay with me. So they
That's
have
awesome.
the best of both worlds.
So growing up in Cleveland, as a kid, what were you into?
I was a gymnast for 18 years. So gymnastics, honestly, was my life. It taught me, it basically taught me determination, drive, dedication. I always say, the 3 Ds, right? And, I started when I was at the age of 2 with my mom, the mom and pop classes, and it just stuck with me. It was just everything that, I was a little daredevil as a child. My dad and I, every Sunday, we would, play wrestle, jump off the beds. I had no fear. So I was always the wild child, always doing crazy stunts or activities. I was the ball of energy. So my mom and my parents always kept me in gymnastics. And then, come to my senses and really being able to realize, hey, is this something I wanted to do? It was everything I wanted to do. It was just entertainment with the sole purpose of competing, and my coaches were amazing. And I was in the Junior Olympics, and then I traveled, with state, regional, and national teams within the U.S., on the USA teams, which was amazing. My coach was Dominique Mucciano, trained with a coach named Dominic Zito, who's still very popular in choreography, floor routines. So I had a great core and a great structure around me while I was in gymnastics, and that's the only thing I really knew. They go to dances, they go to prom, homecoming, and my parents actually adjusted my school schedule because that's everything I ever wanted to do was gymnastics. When you ask a child when they're older, my answer was, I want to be in the Olympics. And that's exactly what I was striving to do. And when I was 12, I wasn't old enough for the Olympic trials, so I went and did the Junior Olympics. And, I had a massive injury there. I had broke my nose, and people had thought I was paralyzed. I, snapped my neck back, and my mom was there, and she was completely devastated. And I was at that age, too, where it was 12, 13 years old, where I was just becoming like a teenager, you start worrying about your appearance. I'll never forget that. I was just like, oh my God, what are people going to think of me? I look like a raccoon. But to be honest with you, it was just like I wanted to get back in the gym and start training. And like I had mentioned, my parents, changed my whole routine as far as school. I would get up in the morning, do some exercises, strength, exercises, stretching. My parents would take me to school, drop me off at school, and my mom and dad adjusted my schedule and picked me up around lunchtime. So they pulled me out of school early. All my classes were in the morning. They picked me up from school. They took me straight to gymnastics, where we did strength and conditioning from like 4 to 5, and then the actual beam bars and like the floor exercise. We trained from 5 to 8:30, 9 o'clock every single night. And then by 9 o'clock, I would be home doing my homework in bed for the next day. And on the weekends, I was always traveling out of town for the gymnastics meets. So that's all athletics was all I knew. And that was really my passion growing up.
Wow.
So, I love sports. I love, everything to do with controlling your own destiny. And that's where I kind of find myself right now, too, is ever since I was a little girl to where I am now, I was able to control my own destiny.
So how did you transfer how did you get from gymnastics and obviously you started doing bodybuilding training and fitness competitions?
So as I had mentioned, injuries with gymnastics,
Yeah.
I broke my nose. I had reconstructive ankle surgery on my right ankle.
Wow.
And it was just a constant thing, and I could never get back. Like I always say, I could never get back on my horse and ride from where I picked up and left. It was just always a constant struggle. Each injury took a toll on my body. Each injury, it was just really difficult for me. And it was I saw the girls and the opportunities keep passing me by, and I was just like, I can't believe this. And my doctor, who had, mentioned, she was like, hey, Ash, listen, my ankle was just, it was I had reconstructive ankle surgery on it. So everything was a mess inside, landing and pounding on it constantly. It was never healing properly. So then my doctor was like, hey, Ash, why don't you try diving? And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Diving? And they're like, diving off of a springboard and a platform. And I was like, why do you say that? They're like, because it's everything that you do, right? And not a lot of people out there, really think about, transitioning from gymnastics to diving. And that's, it's very similar, right? Because you're flipping and you're diving into water. It's no impact on your body as far as landing purposes and things of that nature. So I was like, okay, give it a try. Let's do this. To be honest with you, I'm just going to say it like it is. It was just not my thing.
Yeah.
I'm a girl. I hate getting my hair wet, especially living in Cleveland, Ohio. It's cold outside. I hated being in the water. It came very easy to me. And I love a challenge. Within the first couple months of me diving, I was regional champ or state champ or district champ. Then I went to states, then I went to regional. So It was just everything came super easy and super smooth to me. And it was just okay, this isn't just, overall, this just is not my thing. And my parents were always like, we'll never pressure you into doing anything. And I was just like, okay, now what, right? And going into college, my mind ever since I was a child, like I had said, was I'm going to college for gymnastics. I'm going to be in the Olympics for gymnastics. So when it came to that, my parents always said, school and education first and foremost. You have to go to school for something. And I was like, I was lost. I was completely lost. I was like, okay, now what? This is completely different than anything that I've ever had to think about. And so I was like, okay, what am I going to go to school for? What do I find very, intriguing? And at the same point in time, it was just like, okay, what's the cool thing to do? And my mind wasn't right. At that point in time, as anybody growing up, you have the world in the palm of your hands. You can pick, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a nurse, you want to be a lawyer, whatever you want to be, you can be. But at that time, I was so over everything. I was like, all right, what's cool? All right, fashion. I loved fashion. I love dressing up, everything like that. So I went to school for fashion merchandising and design and marketing and business and a bachelor's in science. Graduated with that. And while I was in college, I was working like the 9 to 5. And then I was just like, man, this is not for me. Like, I can't work for, like, as bad as it sounds, like, I couldn't work for someone. Like, I would clock in and always constantly be checking my watch and everything. And I was like, okay, this is just, I can't do this. Like, I need to be active. And I just wasn't comfortable in my own skin. I was out of the gym. I was out of training. I was out of my routine and just everything. And I was like, okay, this is just not my, cup of tea.
Yeah.
So, but needless to say, I had graduated, and then my girlfriend at the time, her name is Sarah, and Sarah Block, and she contacted me, and she's like, Ash, listen, why don't you try this thing? It's like bikini competitions. And I was like, no, Sarah, like, I don't want to do that. I did Miss Hawaiian Tropics already, which is like a bikini, like, calendar competition. I did Maxim back in, like, a long time ago, 2010. It was just like, I don't want to do that, And she's like, no, you get in the gym, you have like a meal plan, you train, you change your body. It's like very demanding and physical. You love to work out. It's everything is up to you. And at the end of it, you step on stage. The judges, she sent me videos of like how that's done. So I was like, okay, let's do this. So I started bikini competition. And then when I was in bikini, I had seen the fitness division, which goes bikini, figure, fitness, and women's bodybuilding. And when I saw the fitness division, I was like, what is this, right? Because it was like a 2-minute gymnastics strength routine. So it was like push-ups, it was, high kicks, it was strength pulls, it was tumbling. It was everything that I've ever done growing up in gymnastics. Plus the fitness and bodybuilding aspect of you had to train hard, you had to have like a very nice, you got judged on your physical appearance too, as far as like muscularity, and you were stepping on stage in basically a 2-piece, and you're being judged on your physique round, and then you would have a 2-minute competition or a 2-minute fitness routine round. So it was like very competitive in the sense of they're not going to pick somebody with a very terrible fitness routine. So it was more or less like, okay, here's what this person, it's a competition. So I fell in love with it. Got my pro card in 2012. So basically, like anything, you start at an amateur level, and then you get qualified for regionals, then you get qualified for nationals, and then you can qualify for your IFBB pro card. So I landed my pro card in that in 2012. And then my professional career in fitness and bodybuilding took off. I had traveled the world with that. I was in, the Arnold Classics. Then you hear Mr. Olympia, which is like Super Bowl of, bodybuilding and fitness. So I've been to those competitions, competed in like Brazil, Spain, just, everywhere.
Wow.
And I just needed that next step, like that next step and that next platform to be able to express my message and be able to get out there and really spread my message of like never be complacent, step out of your comfort zone, like you control your own destiny, as I have said before. And I was in Spain competing, and somebody had approached me and was like, hey, we love your personality, we love the way you look, have you ever heard of wrestling? And I was like, what are you talking about, wrestling? They're like, WWE, and my eyes lit up immediately, right? But at first I'm like, are you talking about like amateur wrestling? Like, I had no idea. And in the fitness world too, there's a lot of like weird, fetish things too, where it's like, okay, does this someone want to wrestle me? I was like, no way. Like, it was just in my mind, I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, this is just not me. And my mom was there with me, and I'm like, Mom, excuse me, but like, I don't know what this is. And then they had mentioned WWE, and my eyes lit up because it took me back to like my childhood memories of me and my dad playing wrestling and jumping off the bed and and catching me, and I would have my little stuffed animals, and my uncle, my Uncle Barney, which is my dad's brother, they always would go back and forth watching wrestling. And I remember coming down into the living room, and WWF at the time was on, and so I was like, oh my God, my eyes lit up. I was like, of course, but I've never wrestled a day day in my life. I don't know how to be a good person. I don't know how to be a bad person. A million thoughts run through your head.
Yeah.
And so they're like, no, we would love to take you out. At the time, it was Tampa. And so I went down to Tampa, and I trained and did a tryout in Tampa, and absolutely fell in love with it. And, they gave me a contract right on the spot, and it's been a blessing and the best thing of my life. It's actually saved my life too. Wrestling, is my first true love that's been there for me for now 6 years. So it's been an amazing transition. My life has been through, every which way you can possibly imagine, but I'm very grateful for, the opportunity and the platform WWE has given me to perform and entertain, but also be able to spread my message and work with different communities outside of WWE.
So when you mentioned you were training in Orlando, like who trained you?
So there's a WWE Performance Center based in Orlando, and that is called NXT. And NXT at the time was like a developmental program. And so when I had signed the contract, I was still competing in fitness, and I had to finish out my obligations in the fitness, division in the fitness world. And so I had moved down to Orlando, and at that time I had no idea about anything, who anyone was, and I went to the training facility, and I met the best coaches ever. I had Norman Smiley, who is like a lot of these coaches too used to wrestle. Like Billy Gunn, he still wrestles, which is, the ass man. Norman Smiley, he was one of the first coaches of mine. And he was like, he saw me bump, which means you fall on the mat and you kind of slam your arms down. And he thought I was lying. He's like, you've never wrestled a day in your life. I was like, no, absolutely not. And he's like, yes, you have. You're lying. And I was like, Norman, I promise you, I've never done this in my life. And then he asked me, all right, let me see your fighting stance. And I kid you not, Elias, my stance was the most pathetic thing anyone has ever seen. It was like my hands were webbed out. They're like, okay, maybe you've never fought a day in your life. I was like, nope, I haven't. I promise you I wasn't lying. And so then we had an amazing female coach. Her name is Sarah Motto, and she's still down at the Performance Center as well. And Sarah took me under her wing. Sarah basically, saw something in me as far as the athletic side and the ability. And it was from step one of basically running the ropes to having wrestling matches and understanding the psychology behind it, which is a whole nother, beast in itself. And she's been all around the world wrestling. She's, she's trained the most athletic women around the world. And so it was amazing to have her see something in me and train Dusty Rhodes, who is a ultimate legend, the American Dream in himself. And, may his soul rest in peace. He passed away while I was, getting the transition call from developmental to the main roster. And I used to meet with, Dusty every Tuesday because, again, I had no idea about acting and, putting on character and developing, these characteristics of a bad, we call them heels. And it was just, he took me under his wing and was all right, he started acting with me and gave me character ideas from every end of the spectrum just to try in different ranges. And then, Triple H was the one to seek me out and give me the opportunity. And, Triple H has been a huge role model to me growing up in wrestling as well, too. I always thought he was super attractive growing up, too. I was like, oh, my God, he's so hot. And then I will never forget going into my tryouts, which I've never told this story before ever. I walk in a room, because they need to get your personality, whatever, and he's standing right there. And I was just like, oh, my gosh, this is him, and yeah, I kind of fangirled a little bit. But he really takes the time and effort to really get to know each and every one of the talents and, groom them for success. And, his life is so busy. He still wrestles himself. He, is a great father, great role model, great businessman. So it's amazing to be in their presence, and they actually teach you and give you all the knowledge, because it's honestly a never-ending, job. You're constantly learning. You're never going to know the craft. Everything's always going to be constantly changing for the better, and they're all willing to give you their time and their patience. So it's not just one particular trainer. It's everyone has their own style, and every input is very admirable.
So how would you describe your run so far in the WWE?
It's funny you say that. My run has been, I'm very grateful. I am super grateful for the opportunity. I'm blessed to have been able to kind of experience and explore many different characters, I would say. As going into NXT, I was very fitness driven. I was a total diva, the total package, which is basically me as a person, right?
Yeah.
Fitness is everything. Everything was just, it was a truly amazing time. Came to the main roster, and so I worked with Emma, and we were the bad girls, and did everything together, and picked on all the girls. And then I was blessed to have the opportunity with Ric Flair and Charlotte Flair. Great learning experience for me. That was a very fun time for me, being in the ring with the one and only Ric Flair and Charlotte Flair. And me and Rick and his daughter Charlotte, we've all developed like a family relationship, and Rick and I to this day are very close. I just saw him Sunday at the Royal Rumble, and it's just amazing to be within their presence, but let alone they know me as a person. They know me on a completely different level, on a different base, and so it was great to work with them. Then I did this statistician role, which was like, I was tagged with two of the male superstars, Titus O'Neil, who is amazing in, the community work that he does, opened up a school, written a book. So kind of being under, his guidance as far as doing things outside was very helpful. The role as a statistician was fun because it just gave me depth as a character, as far as like playing a part and, doing things along that line, and then breaking away from them and being myself. Now this is Ashley. This is Dana Brooke is Ashley Sebera. I want opportunities. I want to constantly keep growing. I constantly want to show my fans and also haters that we have on the internet and troll us.
Oh my God!
Like
of course.
I'm constantly trying to improve. Like I'm constantly trying to get better and evolve and prove to everybody that hard work does pay off. It's as simple as that. You put in the time, you put in the effort. No matter what you do across the board, it's gonna pay off.
Yeah.
And so being out, I've had the amazing opportunity with Ronda Rousey. Stepping in the ring with her and cutting like a heartfelt promo, as far as really kind of how I felt. As far as like I bleed for this business. I put my tears, my time, energy, effort, everything into this business just to be given this opportunity to show truly who I am. And 2020 has been an amazing transition for me. I had transferred from RAW to Smackdown, and Smackdown just started airing on Fox. And it's been a game changer for my career because I've been able to like get out there and really show who I am and really kind of make people's eyes open up and be like, wow, she does have a lot to offer and bring to the table. And I'm just, the girl from next door. I'm a true, genuine person. What you see is what you get. I can't fake it. It's just, this is who I am. I'm so passionate with WWE and everything that they've given to me. And like I said, wrestling saved my life. I lost my ex, Dallas McCarver, 2 years ago, and I was in a very dark place as far as, like, I just didn't know where to go. I had no idea what to do with it was just, if you've ever lost a loved one, it's just, you can't really accept it, or there's no real realization, and you cannot put your life on pause. You cannot put your life on hold. And wrestling was the only thing that, like, really pulled me away from it to, like, put my mind in check, saying, like, Ash, you have something so precious in your hands, and, like, you have to keep working, keep striving to, like, be the best possible person you can be, and Dallas would want you to do that. So, Dallas always supported me, always had my back through thick and thin, was at my side through everything, and the way that I could remember him and kind of, everyone has a different way of grieving, and my way was showing him that I'm never giving up, and I'm stepping in that ring, and I'm doing the best thing I possibly can do, and, wrestling saved my life. It honestly did. WWE was so amazing to me when, this whole situation occurred. They told me to take as much time off as I needed. It's like my family. They literally, they see me more than my family does. So being able to, like, come away from home and go into that, keep my mind going, keep my mind busy, was, that's why I say wrestling is my, my one and only true love. It's been there for me. We've had our good times, we've had our bad times, but in the end, it's always been there for me. And, it's just, it's a family, and it's amazing to be able to, WWE gets you so many different levels and platforms to get out there and spread your message. And I'm truly grateful to be with the business for 6 years. I signed another 5 years. And, like I said in the beginning, you control your own destiny. So, I just take one step at a time.
Who would have thought a little girl from Cleveland and now you're in the WWE?
I know. The way I think about it is my parents have always raised me to be humble and stay true to who I am. And sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, it brings a tear to my eye, because I'm like, man, I was a little girl and I had dreams, right? And I was so lost as far as I mentioned to you before, life is like puzzle pieces. So at a time in my life when gymnastics didn't work out for me and I was lost, I was like, what am I going to do with my life? It didn't make sense back then, right? It just made no sense. Now I look back and I'm like, wow, that puzzle piece fit with, puzzle pieces that is painting this beautiful picture of my life. And I truly hope that, people that are looking into my life or hearing my story can take away something and know that, life can be hard sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's like, you got to keep going and paint the beautiful picture of life. Every day is a blessing to wake up and be given another day, and I never take life for granted. And, with losing my ex, I don't want to say I took things for granted, but you always just go through the motions, right? You don't think tomorrow's, you won't see the light of day tomorrow, but in reality, that might just happen. So you have that. That's, one thing that kind of I always try and pull a positive out of a negative, as weird as it sounds, but it has made me realize truly how strong of a person I am, how strong somebody else can be, as far as if I tell them my story and try and help them. And, it's just, tomorrow's never promised, tomorrow's never guaranteed, and never take anything for granted. Your job, loved ones, your husband, your wife, your children. It's truly been an eye-opening experience to me.
I love the way how you're so positive, because, like, in this world today, we need that. We need more people to be just more positive, because, like you said earlier, there's always people on social media or things like that that always try to take you down, and you just have to pretty much ignore the noise.
And it's so hard. I mean, I won't lie to you. I go online and I'm skinny, I'm fat, I have too much face work done. I wish my hair was short. I wish everyone has their own opinion.
Yeah.
And, or my wrestling, oh, you suck at wrestling, or that match was terrible, but at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, you don't know what I was supposed to do in this match, right? Like,
Yeah.
you have no idea. I did my job. I knew exactly what I had to do. I did it, but yet you're still critiquing me, and you're, like, trying to tear me apart, right? And that's the worst possible thing, but at the end of the day, Elias, what I try and tell everybody, and I'm huge on, I'll get into this in a second, but I go to schools and I really try and talk to children of, anywhere from little toddlers all the way to high schoolers graduating, is don't be a bully, be a star, right? And always try and think, if that person's trying to tear you down, I mean, you probably get it too, Elias, no matter what.
Oh, of course.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Grown adults, whatever. You have to think, wow, that person is struggling in some aspect of their life that they need to tear someone else down to bring themselves up, right?
Yeah.
And if you could just make them put a smile on their face, okay, there's so many times I sit there and my thumbs are like typing something out, like, and I'm like, oh, don't do that, don't add fuel to their fire, because that's exactly what they want you to do.
Yeah.
It's a race, they keep it moving, you know your path, you know exactly where you want to go, you know exactly where you want to be. Don't let anyone come into your lane. And I always tell those people, keep it moving. I don't need your negativity. I feed off of it, to be honest with you. I'm like, okay, you say my wrestling sucks, I'll be able to do this, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to shut everyone up, plain and simple. As far as my image goes, I'm comfortable in my own skin. I've been through ups and downs in my life, as I've told you and shared. I went through, losing my ex. I put on some weight. But at the end of the day, I worked it off, and hard work paid off again, and I feel great. I look back, and I'm like, wow, I did this. I transformed my body. I really dedicated, time and effort into myself. And, it wasn't only physical, strength, but it was also mental strength, where I had to put myself in a very positive, happy lifestyle again. And it's never too late. And, as I was talking about bullies online and stuff like that, that's exactly what I try and do. If you hate me, you see me doing these things, hopefully you can take away something. If I can impact one person's life, and then they can impact 2 or 3 others, then I've done my job. It's like a, trickle effect.
That's right. So what's next for you in 2020? Like you mentioned dreams and everything. What's your next goal and dream?
So, actually, it was funny. I had a meeting, and I am really trying to strive to open up a women empowerment affinity group. And it's in the works right now. I just want to help other women who feel as though they can't step out of their comfort zone. And that is something that I'm so strong and passionate about. That's one of my personal goals as Ashley Mae Sebera. Getting out there, spreading my message, inspiring children is another thing that I hold very close to my heart, because these children look up at us, no matter who we are and whatever industry we're in, as like larger than life characters. And what better way to tell them, like, hey, you guys are the future, you guys are the next generation up and coming, and if you stay the right path, you can too do this. So that's another thing that I'm very passionate about. As far as WWE goes, I would love some title opportunity chances. I definitely want to step up for those tag team titles, and just constantly grow as an individual, and as a wrestler, and also just an influencer is really truly what I want to do in the next couple of years. Like I said, I'm just growing my brand. Re-sign with 5 more years. I'm going to put the pedal to the metal and grind within the business, but then also start putting little mental notes down. I would love to write a book and inspire people, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And things come in my path, and I kind of just take the bull by its horns and kind of run with it.
That's interesting. And really quick, I know you started a nonprofit foundation also. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, Dallas McCarver Foundation, which is a nonprofit, and that's all for underprivileged children. And I love give back to orphanages. That's something Dallas had a very difficult upbringing in life, and we would talk about it all the time. And unfortunately, we were both super busy while he was with me and while he was here. And we would always want to start that. And we always said, okay, after, you compete in Mr. Olympia and you win Mr. Olympia, this is what we're going to do. This is our goal. This is our game plan. And we've always, I wanted children. He wanted children. And so when this all had, occurred, I'm like, again, people grieve differently. And I'm like, all right, let me continue on his legacy and let's do this. Let's bring forward what he's always wanted to do, what's been, something that he's very passionate about. And that's, it's a nonprofit organization. It's the Dallas McCarver, Foundation. And it's just to carry on his legacy. His mom, Penny McCarver, is very involved in it as well. And, St. Jude's Hospital, too. I love to make hospital visits and see those kids and just bring smiles to their faces. And I know that's exactly what Dallas would want to do as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I did a little research online and I read more about it, and it's amazing. Lastly, do you have a quote that you live by?
Tomorrow's never guaranteed, and it's, as I had mentioned before, life is like a puzzle piece, and you just got to keep moving forward, and that's honestly what I live by. It's crazy to me because 24 hours some days it seems like a long time, some days it seems like it's not enough time, but you have to make the most of it because you never know what tomorrow brings, and tomorrow's never guaranteed. As far as life as a puzzle piece goes, I honestly, you take a step back and, you put puzzle pieces together, and it's just like, I put a puzzle, it was just funny, over Christmas, over the holidays, we played games with my family, and we're putting puzzles together, just like beat the clock kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And Mary's been putting a puzzle together, and it clicks, and I'm like, wow, this is how my life is. You see this one piece, and it's a corner piece, and you don't know where it's going to lead to, but you'll find something that fits. And that's how life works, right? You just never know. It'll click. Somewhere, somehow, down the line, you might not know why. It might be a very, negative taste in your mouth, but I promise you, I promise every person out there, it'll make sense someday, somehow, some way.
Ashley, how can the listeners find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram, Asha, A-S-H-A, Sebera, S-E-B-E-R-A, _ Dana Brooke. And on Twitter, I'm very active with my fans. It's just Dana Brooke, WWE. As far as Facebook, I don't have a Facebook, but I am very active on social media. And, like I said, stay tuned to these women empowerment courses and, seminars, because that's something that's going to be happening within the next couple months as well, too. And I'm going to hopefully launch a community forum type webpage where it's, you take one of these seminars and then it's like a family, and we'll go back and forth on the boards and, just kind of uplift one another.
Ashley, I want to personally thank you for coming on. Your story was amazing, and I can't wait for the listeners to listen to it.
Thank you. No, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor, and, any way that I can possibly get my story out there on any end of the spectrum, and whether it be, I'm very grateful to be able to be on your show and your podcast and be able to promote, happiness. Like we said, it's positivity across the board, and you seem super positive yourself. So it's been amazing to talk with you, and you give me this time to express how I feel and my outlook on life.
Thank you.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap, everybody. That's a wrap.
Thanks for listening to the Man Cave Chronicles podcast.
I finally get my man cave.
You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the MCC Podcast, and our website, themccpodcast.com. Until next time.